Hey everybody, welcome to the Pagan Perspective. My name is Angel and I am your Wednesday host, and this week we're talking about the dark night of the soul. And there's 3 questions in who wrote in. The first one is, what has been your biggest challenge you've faced on your journey? The second one is, have you ever been through a dark night of the soul? And the third one is, what got you through it? So what I'll say is about dark night of the soul is that there are several different terminologies of the name in many different religions and spiritual paths. But most religions and spiritual paths that I've found have a variation of this particular process, which is basically a challenging time, a time where you're questioning your spirituality or your faith, your questioning things that you've done, that you've decided to do, that you should have done in your spirituality. And it can be a time that's very difficult in that you feel very lost and sort of upside down, and but if you come through it and work through it, then what you come out on the other side is stronger, more humble, more dedicated, more convinced of your convictions, and it becomes a process that is actually a good process. But let's get to the questions. My biggest challenge. I'm not really sure. I've had a lot of challenges. I guess I put things in perspective. I look at other people's lives and things that they're going through and go, my life's not that bad. I really don't have anything to complain about. I will say that losing people is a big challenge for me. Losing people, whether they walk out of my life or they pass away or move away or decide that they just don't want to be in my life, whatever it is, that's very challenging for me. That's very difficult for me, because I know a lot of people and I'm friendly with a lot of people, but people that I consider my close friends, I open up a side of myself to them that I don't with anybody else, and that friendship is incredibly, incredibly powerful to me, and I'm very, very loyal, and I expect the same from my friends that I consider my friends. So when somebody chooses to leave or passes away, it's very, very difficult for me. It's the biggest challenge for me is that loss and processing it, and I tend to be an overthinker and and over everything. Overthinker, overachiever, over organizer, over everything. So I tend to get in my own way sometimes in my head. That's a huge challenge. I overthink things and spells and rituals, and sometimes I haven't even done them because I overthought them. So I would say that's another big challenge. Have you been through a dark night of the soul? Yes. Now what I'm going to say about the dark night of the soul is the name is a little misleading. If you look at just that particular title or name, it kind of insinuates it's one moment. And dark night of the soul can be a time period. It could be one night, it could be one day, it could be 1 week, 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, Sometimes people go through things in long periods of time until they figure things out, and everybody's different. So, dark night of the soul, yes. And were they a night? No. It's generally been longer periods for me than one night. So yes, I've been through them. 2 in particular, and actually it's almost like 3, but 2 kind of go together. The first one was a while ago, ages ago, when I left my first coven. That was very, very difficult for me, and I had to do a lot of reevaluating and questioning, and it wasn't a time where I felt really good about things, and I made a lot of bad decisions after that, even in my personal life. Married the wrong person, Thank goodness I corrected that. But, it was like a spiral. It started with my spirituality and it kind of spiraled. So that took me a few years to figure that out. The next time was in 2014. Now these are the two that go hand in hand. Or sort of, not hand in hand, but kind of are parallel to each other. In 2014, I lost one of my good friends to cancer. And I was connected to her through my spirituality, and she was very much a spiritual mom to me, or mentor to me. She was definitely a mentor to me. So her loss was deeply, deeply felt on a spiritual level. And anytime I would do any practicing after that, it would hurt me because I was connecting it to that pain that I felt in that loss. That had nothing to do with my spirituality necessarily, but it was almost like a rope that connected me, my spirituality, and that pain. So I had to really sort that out, figure that out, and kind of sever that tie so my spirituality could be like, hey, I'm not a bad feeling. But once I did that, I realized that I had been complacent in my practice for a while, and had felt very lost, and sort of like things weren't the way they should be. And but I didn't do anything specific about it. I what you would normally do, which I'll read off some things that people suggest you do. I basically just got out and started getting involved in things in my spiritual community, which I will say, not all of it's panned out. I have a very strong personality, and that doesn't always rub people in the pagan community right. We actually did a video on that, I think, on sensitive people. But anyways, then the Morgan came in my life and turned everything upside down in a good way. And she's still here, kind of making things chaotic and wonderful. But I had to kind of, when she came into my life, she kind of kicked me in the head spiritually. And I needed that because I wasn't doing anything to get myself back on track. And I don't mean academically, I mean spiritually, back in my spirit mind, minded self. So, things you can do. You can meditate. Now, I know a lot of people have a hard time meditating, even with guided meditations. I know I do. So, if you can't meditate, don't worry about it. There's lots of things to try to get yourself back into your spiritual space. But my suggestion is just try everything. One thing works, two things, one thing doesn't work, and two things don't work. The third might, the fourth might. Just try anything, because your spirituality is so important. It doesn't necessarily matter which one it is, if you want a different one, but it's important. It's important for you because it makes you who you are. And so, you personally, your spirituality makes you who you are. Whether you have one or you don't have one, you're starting a new one, that still makes you who you are. The next thing you can do is pray. Now, I don't necessarily pray to the deities, because I don't think they answer your prayers in my personal practice, but you can send out a prayer or an energy prayer out to the universe to get that kind of good stuff back. You can look to the past and see if you've made a decision that you subconsciously are struggling with that holds you back from getting back into your spirituality. Might have been something you should have said differently to somebody, or maybe never said anything at all, or whatever it is. But it could be something that simple, that once you realize it, once you figure out how to rectify it, it might kind of get you back in that space very quickly. The other thing is, look to the future. Where do you want to be spiritually? What do you want to do spiritually? Me personally, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because I'm in a school full-time, I work full-time, I'm a full-time husband, and other social obligations. But you can like for me, I've signed up for the Dedicant program for ADF to get more in touch with droidry. I really want that skill set. I really want that connection. So that's where I see myself in the next few years, completing that program. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be spiritually? And then if you can see where you want to be spiritually, the road to get there will start to develop. And that will get you back into your spiritual mind. It'll at least give you a direction, which a lot of times when you're going through these times of, trial and questioning and everything, getting getting a direction is a huge thing. And the last thing is talk to somebody. Now, I would highly recommend that if you know somebody pagan that you can talk to about this, that you should talk to them. Pagans tend to know what other pagans are going through. Not everything, but somebody who is of another religion might not completely understand what you're going through because they don't understand your path. It's not like they're a bad person, they just might not get it, I don't know what somebody is going through who is a refugee. I'm not going to try to sit there and counsel them. I have no idea what that's like. But somebody who is in my situation, who comes to me, I might be able to help them. So if you don't have somebody you can talk to who's pagan, then talk to somebody who's spiritually neutral. What I mean by that is they're not going to judge you. They're cool with you being whatever you are as long as you're a good person. Because the last thing you need when you're trying to figure out your spirituality path, direction, is to be judged. It's just going to knock you back down. So find somebody you can talk to who's spiritually neutral or pagan and tell them how you're feeling. Maybe they'll give you some advice that, you didn't even think about. Alright, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next week, and until next time, have a great rest of the week and blessed be. Bye!